need to change to get a different result. If you do the same thing over and over and get the same guys, the result's not going to be the different, right? And I feel with the Penguins, they're talking about bringing Malkin back and all these guys back and even signing guys. And it's like you gotta take a step back, take 2 steps forward. And if that's maybe not signing Malkin, like I'm okay with that, because you're starting to see other teams around the league, like the Philadelphia Flyers, who got rid of their star, Claude Giroux, took a couple steps back, the last 2 to 3 years. Now you look at their team, like they're going to be a playoff contender every year for the...
We think.
No,
or you think.
I think so for sure.
Yeah.
With how their team plays, how, they've got a lot of young talent that's excited to be there, and they got a nucleus of guys under 30 that can really be a bright spot for the Philadelphia Flyers. But the last 2 to 3 years, God, they were brutal. Like they didn't even sniff of making the playoffs. But now they're starting to take steps forward after taking steps back.
Do you not think the Penguins are? Like, I agree with you on Rodgers. I would not bring him back because you have to, and that's a specific position, and the most important position in all of sports is quarterback on a football team, and the Steelers are still basically running in place there. So that to me is different than Malkin. I agree with you on Rodgers. So you're saying you wouldn't bring back Malkin then?
Depends what price. I still think a point a game's hard to fill, but, and he probably has one more year in the NHL left, right?
Yeah. But if it's time to move on, and you want to move on, you're going to let $1 million change your mind?
Yeah.
You are?
Well, I always felt like it's very hard for a Ben Kindle to steal Evgeny Malkin's job if Evgeny Malkin's still there, right? He's got to always... It makes younger guys, like, I always felt like, when Recchi was there, when the older guys were there, it was very hard for me to, like, really blossom because I know I took their spot and they were just waiting for me to make a mistake. When there was less pressure and I can just do my thing and I felt more secure as an NHL player, like that helped. But it also helped getting rid of some of those older guys. So I always had guys looking over my back, but I didn't have guys that I stole their job from, looking over my back.
Right.
Because that's kind of really what happened when I got called up. They had they were struggling. They had Rex. They had some older guys in the lineup, and they needed a spark, and Rex ended up getting traded or whatever. And then I came in there and it kind of helped me. And even like Kobe Armstrong, all those guys, it helped me kind of blossom. And the only thing that was different about me and the guys now is like I did well. When I got called up, like I secured my spot. Where right now, when you look through the depth chart of the Pittsburgh Penguins, no one's really clipping at like Malkin's heels to steal a spot. Like no one's pushed him out of his spot yet. McGroarty hasn't come to fruition for some reason. He just can't. He's doing unbelievable in the AHL, scoring overtime winners, but he's got to be able to do that at the NHL level. And if he did, that's how you...
So you're saying move out Malkin for McGroarty?
No, I'm saying those guys aren't pushing hard enough and playing well enough for the Penguins to pretty much...
Isn't that more reason to keep Malkin then? Because I agree with that.
That's why they're probably going to keep him, right? But...
And when you're talking
Koivunen...
Koivunen's just not cutting it.
Just think of Avery Hayes beat out McGroarty, and I didn't ever heard of Avery Hayes before he got called up and was a lights out and played how you should when you get called up, fighting, hitting, scoring, everything.
I hear you on that.
We're still looking for the McGroartys, the Koivunens, the next level guys, the Brunicks, to push the older guys out. But to push them out, when you get your opportunity, you got to do whatever it takes to stay in that lineup, and those guys haven't, and that's why I think they're buying Malkin more time.
Well, that and the fact that he was 22nd in the league in points per game.
True.
I mean, he's ahead of guys like Tage Thompson, Connor Bedard in terms of point production per game. He can.
Do you think he's going to have a better year or worse year next year?
I don't know. I thought he was going to fall off a cliff this year, and he came back in shape, and he was willingly moved to win.
But don't you think he was playing like it was his last year? Like you can tell he was enjoying it. I think a spark came when Chinakhov was there. I think those kind of things really kind of
maybe.
Like I think halfway through, when they got Chinakhov and Gino was playing a lot better, he was like, you know what, I'm enjoying hockey again.
Yeah.
And that's where I think he always had a plan. Like that was his last year. And then the team played a lot better this year. He looked like he was enjoying himself. He was playing well. And then he's like, you know what? I think I could come back one more year.
Right. And I think he had so much fun for most of the year and was so good for a lot of it. Like
even playoffs.
Rejuvenated. Even playoffs. He was up and down, but he tied for the team lead in goals.
Yeah.
You know, that I think he sparked for another year.
Right, and that's like, again, if you had Gino with no points in playoffs and you had Kindle with Gino's points, like, you're almost like, we don't really need Gino. But they need Gino because he's still producing, and no one's taking his point production away, right? Like, no one's taking over. If Gino doesn't score, Kindle or Koivunen or whatever, they're getting his points, you know, and that's where I think Kyle Dubas is in kind of a rock and a hard place because – again, I think we've had a great year. I think the team's very good, but everyone he picked up played over their head.
Yeah.
Right? Like every one of their prospects, everyone that they got 1-year deals, like if you would have told me Mantha would get 33 goals, you know, Novak playing where he was, all those guys, I would have been like, there's no chance, you know. But they played over their head. Is that going to happen again? No. I think a lot of the GMing and the general manager is like a little bit about luck too.
Yeah, and he's just one guy. I mean, he's just one guy out of 12 forwards, one out of your top 6. To me, it's just different than a quarterback, and it seems like so much of the focus, really for years now, is when the Penguins need to make a change? Okay, they need to make a change. Malkin, get him out of here. It just seems like it's always the focus is on him. I think
Letang's got to be in that conversation.
He should be in that conversation.
100%. I think Tanger, he, you know, I think Gino's obviously got the bigger name, but you know, when they talk about the big three, Tanger's in there. But do you move? I don't think you're going to get ever rid of Tanger. I think you always retire a Penguin.
His contract's hard to move. That's the issue with him. Plus, I thought at times he played well, especially late in that series.
But he also didn't play great in the beginning of that series.
No, it was horrible. But he's also a 34-point
That's funny because you think like a lot of other people, you say, well, he played good at the end of the series. It's like, yeah, I know, but you got to look at the whole series.
For sure.
It's like 50-50, right?
For sure.
You got to give him 5th, 6th defenseman minutes.
I'm fine with that. The problem is, what are you going to do with him? But you've 3 choices. Keep him, buy him out, trade him. He's got to give you permission to trade him, and somebody's got to want him. Buy him out.
That's a tough conversation.
Yeah, buy him out. You're talking, you know,
too much.
Multiple years of paying somebody to do nothing. He's a 34-point defenseman. That ain't bad, and he was a beast. He proved he can still play over the final couple games. 6.1 cap hit.
That ain't cheap.
No. I agree. Your Malkin rationale, I apply to Aaron Rodgers across the board. He is blocking people from playing. Aaron Rodgers' presence is blocking the Steelers from being able to make a fair evaluation on Will Howard or Drew Aller.
You think those guys aren't ready to play quarterback?
How do we know? And how will we know?
I don't even know anything. I can tell you right now they're not ready. It's a lot different game. You play in front of that. You go to Acrisure Stadium.
Yeah.
You got to have your ducks. You got to know how to handle that pressure. Do I think throwing him in, hey, you're the QB1, that is insane. And that's why they're not doing it. That's why they're trying to find a quarterback, right? That's why they're waiting. They're not waiting on Aaron Rodgers. I think
they are waiting on Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I think there's a plan, and I think they're probably a lot more talks behind scenes that no one knows about when he's going to make a decision. I don't think Aaron's like, I'll let you know. I think he's going, hey, guys, after the draft, I'll let you know. That week, we'll talk where we're at, and we'll go from there.
Well, apparently he's in town tonight, according to our morning show guys, and there's much optimism, expectation that he'll sign this weekend. That's also reported by Ian Rappaport. We'll see, I guess, when they sit down to the table. A lot of things can happen. Now, maybe he's arriving with the parameters of a deal in place. Neither I nor anybody else seems to have any idea about that. But interesting things happen when you actually sit down to the table. But he is blocking. He's blocking those guys from reps, from real game snaps. I agree with you that if you put Drew Aller on the field, they'll probably lose. But let's never forget how the Penguins got all their Stanley Cups and how the Steelers got all of their Lombardi trophies. And that was born of losing seasons. Mm-hmm. That's how they got Sid. That's how they got Mario.
The milky middle kills you, right?
It kills you.
Making it the first game, making the playoffs but lose first round.
Tyler, I would agree with you on Malkin if, maybe 4 years ago, to trade him, get back a nice return, and then rip this thing down to the studs. But when Kyle Dubas got here, he didn't want to do that. His first big move was signing Erik Karlsson, for God's sakes. He wants to keep trying to win while doing a soft rebuild, and he did a great job this year. But the question is, where are they going into next year?
But if you tear it down, if you get rid of all your guys, you're not talking you're talking like a 10-year rebuild.
Maybe.
That's a long time.
Maybe
Philly didn't completely break it down to the studs. Look at Chicago.
Yeah.
They broke it down to the studs, and they're still not even close to a playoff position.
I know, but look at Buffalo. They did, and it took them years and years, but they're back.
But how long? You're talking 15 years for Buffalo.
Well, yeah.
Their last time was
a good decade.
07.
A good decade since they really tore it down.
And they had every first rounder for how many years?
Right. They screwed up. Sometimes it does take that long.
I don't think you can break it down to the studs and just say, hey, we're going to rebuild, slowly go down, because it's so hard to get generational team leaders through the draft. You know what I mean? You can't, to get a Sid, to get a Malkin back to back, that's like a miracle.
It was a miracle. Yeah.
And you see Toronto right now, they get first overall guy,
McKenna.
Mm-hmm. Now they have Austin Matthews, McKenna. Are those two duo, do they have enough power?
Well, how are you going to get a generational guy if you don't go to the bottom? That would be my question. And do you need one to win? Certainly the Penguins have over their history.